Okay, we're live. Hi, Nisha.
Hi. Hi.
Okay, well, I haven't seen
How
you
are
for 2 weeks.
you?
I haven't seen you for 2 weeks.
Yes.
You've been busy? You've been busy?
Yes, we've had a big group that stayed with us for multiple days because it was the Merdeka weekend. And then the week before that, we had a lot of maintenance work that we were doing. So, yeah, busy.
Okay. I've been a bit busy. The Zero project is kicking in. So,
Nice.
it's Zoom meeting, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you all about it when I see you. Um,
Yeah.
and I have, I had a slightly loose tooth a few months ago, maybe even 6 months ago.
Okay.
And then it sort of got better. And just this last week, I don't know what happened. I woke in the morning and I must have been clamping down on it or something. And now it's back to that problem. So, ugh.
Oh,
So eating's a problem because it hurts. Which means I'll have to go get it pulled out or something.
mm,
Old age, my
happy.
dear, you will come across this.
I'm not too far behind.
That's
Uh,
actually because I have had this happen on the other side. And
right.
my dentist is really quite holistic. He doesn't like pulling out teeth. He was like, "Oh,
Right.
you can one out?"
Yeah.
And I was like, pull it out, pull it out." And they pulled it out, and it was like, "Oh my god!" It was such a relief. I didn't miss it at all. It's my last molar,
Right.
which surprisingly gets engaged for everything that you eat. You know, so it does
Yeah.
hurt. Anyway, so speaking of eating, this is my topic of choice this week. And I
Yep.
kind of so what happened with this is why it's on the forefront of my brain right now because
Yeah.
I watch nowadays the YouTube algorithm is a bit crazy. You watch one video and it just starts delivering you like 30 videos of that same.
Yeah.
I watched this one video of this Connor who's actually he's getting like really up there as a YouTuber. He does a lot of
Mhm.
atheists. He used to be a vegan, blah blah blah. So he's actually quite interesting. He's quite clever. And then now it just keeps delivering on my timeline. I don't click on all of them except this one that came up, and it was about uh, animal consciousness.
Animal
And the
consciousness.
guy, yeah,
Right.
and the guy's Peter Godfrey Smith, who is a professor of history and
Okay.
philosophy. So that's quite interesting. So that's why I kind of clicked on it because
Yeah.
so the subject is about eating animals. That's our subject of today. It's
Yeah.
a hugely complex subject, controversial. Uh, there are many, many points of view. There are many angles of looking at it. Uh, and
Yeah.
really why I want to talk about it does affect us. Even though full disclosure, I'm not a vegan as you are, right? You're not a vegan, right?
Nope.
But I aspire to
Nope.
be more plant-based, and
Yeah. Agree.
I'll talk about that a little bit more. So it's quite complex territory. So the reason I want to talk about is ultimately this is where I want to end up because, we're in a position where we can shape, we can influence, we're going to teach children, right?
Mm.
And we're already doing that. For our edible education weekend, for lunch, we're serving plant-based, you know?
Yeah.
Not because I want them to
Yeah.
become vegans. I just actually want them to, I just want them to try
Explore.
plant-based, you know? Because part of one of the problems is we don't see it enough. We don't try it enough, and we don't really know that it's an alternative and it's a choice and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're also in a position to shape adults' opinions about it. If we're going to corporate training and say increase your plant-based diet, you know? And so that's a, like, at the end, this is what we want to try and get to. And we want to
Yeah.
get to it for a variety of reasons. We actually want, because there are sustainable aspects of being plant based, there are health aspects.
Mm,
And then what we are kind of going to talk about today, there's actually animal consciousness, animal suffering ethics involved in it, which is affecting me a little bit more as the years go by. And that's principally because of information. Information is changing. We keep seeing new information, new data, new studies that tell us that, and this was quite interesting with this guy, which I'll get to. So I watched the whole thing, and it's really quite interesting because Alex O'Connor, who was interviewing him, actually he converted to veganism. And
right.
he's actually like a very strong debater. He made a big case for the ethics of animal farming, blah, blah, blah. And then he changed his mind and stopped being a vegan because he had health issues. And so
Mm,
it actually created a bit of a furor. It,
yeah.
because this is what happens in social media these days. You can't just have a point of view. It's
You,
actually,
you
yeah, it
you
becomes
have to have one thought.
controversial. Yeah, you're fighting with people online about if you decide to change your
Yeah.
mind, and what have you. So, uh, and I think, and then actually, just to loop to that where we're headed towards, some of the solutions that Peter Godfrey Smith offered were actually in alignment with
Mhm.
my thoughts on the subject, which is so it doesn't, in a way, it just supports actually my thinking of moving in that direction. So I found that quite interesting. Uh,
Right.
and in that, which I'll put a link to here, by the way. I think it's an interesting
Yeah.
conversation to watch. So he said somewhere in the middle of it that actually he wrote a piece in Aeon, which is actually a really kind of a high caliber kind of information site. This essay called "If Not Vegan, Then What? What are your choices?" If you had, because he decided that he might want to go towards that, because an interesting thing about him is he's a professor of history and philosophy. He's not he is not an evolutionary biologist who are people who talk about animal
Yeah.
consciousness and animal suffering.
Yeah.
He's not a nutritionist or biologist about, he's
Mhm.
talking about in the sort of realm of health. He's not in religion. There's some religious debate about this. He's really approaching this as from the point of view as a philosophical idea of how we should treat animals, which I think is quite
Yeah.
interesting. And
Yeah.
some of the reasons he's changing his opinion is because he spends so much time with animals. Like we'll get to this, but he won't eat shrimp because he spends so much time with them. He realized they're not as low level as we think they are. They're actually quite
Yeah. But the thing
friendly.
is, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, there is behavioral um cognition, and then there is also what you call how to say minimal selfhood.
sentient,
And
sentient. Are
like
you
if I were
sentient?
chased by a dog, yeah,
Is
if
it
I was chased by a dog,
is
I would
sentience the word
remember
you're
that
looking
for life.
for? No, no, but are you
No,
looking for
no,
the
no. It
word
is
sentient?
no, no, no. It's not about sentience. It's about an awareness of.
Which is sentience? Sentience is your self awareness as a
Yeah, no,
as a
no, no. Hang
being.
on, hang on, hang on. It is an awareness of a trauma, and you hold on to it over time. Okay, so sentience is larger than that. But this particular aspect in wildlife, in animals, it's like if you were in the savannah and there was no water, it was a drought period, and you went to drink, and a crocodile snapped at your foot. As a human being, I would remember and I'll be afraid of that, and I probably wouldn't do that again in my life.
Okay,
But for animals, the way their brains work, in some cases, they don't hold that trauma. It happens today, they will go do the same thing tomorrow because that selfhood
that's not
awareness
true. That's
is
not
very
actually that's
minimal.
not true. That's not true because I learned that in animal training. They are actually because they
It depends
work
on the
on
animal.
no, 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 no.
It
Animals
depends on
work
the
on
animal.
They're on working on a lower level of consciousness. So it's actually called from the hippocampus. So yeah, I know it from my dog. So for example, a dog, if it walk past a green stick, if me and my dog go for a walk and we see a green stick, we will both stop and go, "Oh, is that a snake?" And I will take a look at it, and I will figure out that it's not a snake. And the next day when I come back, uh, I will know that it's not a snake. But my dog will walk by and he will go, for him, it's still a snake. He didn't move away from that
Mhm.
hippocampus. Actually, am I saying the same thing as you? That they actually don't learn? They
No,
don't
I think it's
learn?
two different things. Two different things. Yours is recognition. Yours is danger recognition.
Hmm?
Mine is experiential trauma that they hold for a short period of time. They don't carry it forward. If not, then all the carnivores will never get their meal because all the animals will have this consciousness that they will avoid them 100%. So it is a little bit different. It is part of the psyche of wildlife. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
It's a
think
little bit.
maybe you're looking at the word animal consciousness as this sort of sense of being, but animal consciousness
Mm,
also covers aspect of pain. You
yeah.
know, the
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
are we in a position to impose pain on another living being? You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, part of it is
Unnecessary pain. Yeah.
uh, part of it's okay because we don't know we're doing it. I mean,
Mm,
there's an ignorance about it.
yeah.
Uh, and I think this is something that they were talking about, and I also watched. So I actually went down a rabbit hole with this. I started watching a whole bunch of other stuff, and you do learn. You start to think about what is it now? Oh, I lost my train of thought. Um, Animal consciousness, pain.
Mm,
Okay, so quite a few different people are talking about how um, there are two things about animal husbandry. There's actually
okay.
the death part, which
Okay.
Alex O'Connor was more concerned about. Uh, that shrimps are being suffocated for a
Yeah.
long time before they die. That
Mm,
pigs are being in gas chambers in the UK, which
mm,
is a horrible death. Actually, it's quite interesting because I then looked it up. I was like, how do they kill pigs in Malaysia? And actually, we don't do that. We are
yeah. We
actually a lot
slaughter.
more humane. We are
Yeah.
more
We
like,
do. Yeah. We do.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Because we are a Muslim country and the main practice of the abattoirs are to slaughter. So they use slaughter as the main ethical method for everyone. The only difference between Jewish slaughter and Muslim slaughter is who they say the prayer to.
sure,
And for all slaughter is across the neck on the jugular. So
yeah.
yeah.
So there's
The
a
slaughter.
religious thing. There are religious issues around that. For I mean, as Christians, actually, Christians says it's sort of complicated by the fact that they don't think animals have souls. So maybe it's
Mm,
okay to eat an animal. I think the Muslims have a little bit more consciousness about animals, right? Hence I mean, you don't have to, huh? What?
I wanna say I wanna say uh by Quranic practice, there should
Uh-huh.
be a lot more awareness about the quality of the
Right.
animal slaughter.
Sure.
We don't slaughter just any animal. So there's a
Right,
health
right. Yep.
quality the
Yep.
animal has to get. So it's like
Yeah.
one fine day the animal died. It's like it had a good life and then one fine day it died.
Okay, that's a great thing
So
because
there's
that's what
ethical
this guy recommends.
yeah, there's an ethical
And this is
care.
what,
Yeah.
my philosophy is one bad day, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, uh,
Yes.
actually, I have read a quote from Prophet Muhammad that says that animals should be eaten as a special indulgence and not as an everyday. Do you know that? Is that a thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good thing to
Yeah.
incorporate because we've
Yeah.
lost that. In our actual day to
In
day
our
modern
strive
life,
for yeah.
we have
Inter
lost that notion. Completely lost
Yep.
that notion. Yeah. Um, okay. So let me look back to when he said that when he wrote that article, if not vegan, then what? Where he offered some alternatives. He actually got a lot of pushback from vegans who
Yep.
said absolutely not. There's no occasion that is okay for you to eat an animal because one of the things he says is exactly what you said and what I I subscribe to, and I actually found that through another route. I read it in I heard Michael Pollan say this. Michael Pollan wrote Ono's Dilemma, and he's the one that said uh what this idea of one bad day. That means the
Yep.
animal lives a life,
Yep.
and one day,
Yep.
which is going to happen in any case,
Yep.
it's taken and it's for like a good cause.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah. So he got a lot of pushback from vegans, and you can kind of understand their point of view. They say there's no reason at all for eating an animal. You know, that's their argument. You know, so
Interesting.
so Peter Godfrey Smith also pushes back on it, and which I have also heard another version of. He says that if we don't eat animals, if that is really how we move forward,
Yep.
those animals will actually cease to exist
Yeah.
because
Yes.
there'll be no good
No good.
reason to keep them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is something I've heard from a couple of sources. One is actually a long time ago. I had a Jewish friend,
Mm.
and we were talking about veganism, and he said actually in the Torah, it says animals
Mhm.
are part of God's uh,
Creation. Bigger plan.
creation of existence. They're supposed to be there. It's actually part of this cycle. Which kind of makes sense in a sort of general sort of way.
Yeah.
Michael Pollan actually puts it into another context. He says actually, and he's actually looking at it from an agricultural point of view. He says we've really walked away from something called sun agriculture, which is using free resources like the sun
Yep.
and animal poop.
Yes.
So there is an argument to keep this sort
Yes.
of
And that's
uh,
the permaculture thread, when
systemic,
you
a
talk
systemic,
biodynamics,
yes,
permaculture,
yeah,
you need
yeah,
animals in the system to
yes,
enable the system to function. Yeah.
yes,
But then the
yeah,
ethics is how much do you consume
yeah.
and how
So
much
then the
do you. Yeah.
ethics and the how you treat them becomes the
Correct.
issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of this is sort of the broad territory of it. Um, so
And I think, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Go
okay.
ahead.
So in his article, he says that the solutions are this: humanely farmed meat,
Right.
okay, which is I guess free range meat, free range chicken, that kind of
Yep.
thing. Then wild caught fish.
Yep.
He doesn't mention other wild caught things. I mean, you can eat things like game as well.
Mm.
Which is something that we used to eat more of here in
I mean,
Malaysia.
if you talk about terrestrial fish,
Uh,
like in Sabah, it's very known that Sabah does a tagal system of fishing. So at certain seasons, you can't catch fish in certain parts of the river because it's spawning or it's growing.
right, right.
And in certain seasons, you are free to catch, but there's a limit for each person to catch. So because it's
Yeah.
an honor system and it's been run and managed by the community, so tagal is highly respectable. So those kind
Layla,
of indigenous systems exist. It's just a question of which are the communities practicing it and where is it.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's
I want to
terrestrial
I
fishing.
want to return to that because you
Yeah.
mentioned it before and I like that idea. It's actually
Yep.
part of a knowledge thing.
Yep.
You
Yep.
just know not to do and not do certain things as
Yep.
part of your kind of um Layla.
She's scratching herself. I can hear her.
Okay, then he talks about dairy products.
Yeah.
Uh I think he raises kind of interesting thing. He says but actually, modern day dairy is actually really horrible. Like
Yeah.
I actually avoid dairy as much as I can. I mean, I'll eat it once in a blue moon because I just like it. I like cheese. Every now and again,
Yeah.
I'm like, I crave a bit of milk tea with my oatmeal.
No,
But
because
it's
the human
literally,
needs fat. The human needs fat. So
yeah,
it
but
comes in the
it's
form
also
of
like a
milk
cultural
also. Yeah.
upbringing thing. You eat a lot of it in your life and when you were younger and like
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to give up. So, but so they raised an interesting thing. So one way to actually sort of calculate this, if reincarnation was a thing, if it actually worked, would you rather come back as a beef cow or a dairy cow? I would like to come back
Beef
as an
cow.
Australian beef cow, which are grass fed.
Grass fed.
Yeah, I would live this free range life
Really?
and have my one bad day. Hey, I'm all for it. Whereas if I'm a dairy cow, I actually watched this YouTube video. So where it's also mechanized now.
Insane.
It's
Yeah, especially
insane, right?
they've
I
been
don't know if
so
it's actually
majority
better. I
and
was watching it. I was wondering,
uh,
is it a little less invasive? Because it felt very like it's all calculated. It's like
very
AI
invasive.
calculating how much
Yeah.
to cook. So I'm like, maybe it's a little bit better. I don't know.
So when I was in Japan, we
Yeah.
went on a trip to a organic farm. It's a So it's hard to say what's ethical because just because it's Japanese doesn't mean it is ethical. It's just well run. It's just well organized.
Right. It's
Uh,
efficient.
and
Okay. Yep. 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 Yep.
you know, so these guys who started this farm 20 years ago, they were agriculturists who worked for the Ministry of Agriculture, and then they were doing survey about on the quality of pork that is served in Japan, and they realized that the quality was too wide in variation, and some of the pigs that were slaughtered were of the right age, but the weight per cut was very low. And so what they tried to do was to improve the weight per cut for the pork that they were collecting from all these different farmers. And so they went on to start a cooperacy co-op where they would buy all the feed. So they became kind of like a semi-government, like like a government entity, but for farming. And so they would buy the feed, they would redistribute the feed because they bought it in bulk, and then they would qualify which pigs could be slaughtered by its calculations, and then they would have the standard quality of pork that had brand. In Japan, you sell it, you auction the meat, and then you peg the price for the year. So they managed to win that auction, I think, a couple of years in a row. And after they did that, they went into into cow farming. And by the time that I went there, which was 20 years later, they already had like this whole product range of ice cream and dairy products, and and they had like this cow class. And they were saying that, and then all their cows were Jersey cows. They ate only wheat or straw from a particular place in the US. They ate alfalfa. They had a very specific diet. It was a very beautiful farm, but that whole process of how they put the suction cup on the teats, all of that is so mechanized. The cows live in pens that are they're feedlots. So they literally stand and sit in the same area, and that's all the area they have. And when you look at the calves that are weaned much earlier on, and the whole conversation about colostrum as part of the high quality milk that gets deviated from the calf, and what happens to the calf if it's not a female, and all these things were not part of the conversation. So they were good,
Mhm.
efficient farm
Right.
with high quality output, but the ethics were just not something you talk about. So
Right.
that, I think, is one of the pivotal points of this conversation. It is, if you're going to be ethical, how do you find the balance between both?
Okay. That's just quite interesting because I went to look at Farm Fresh in
Yeah,
KL.
yeah,
They're based in Serdang and UPM. Because I was involved in possible food project there, and actually Farm Fresh is certified. So there's one way you can assure yourself of something is some form of certification. So they're certified by an Australian board for humane. So they follow the standards of humane raising of the thing, which
yeah,
until then I had no idea like what that was. So I understood it. So it's actually it's because for to get milk, that cow has to be pregnant, and then the
yeah,
baby's got to be taken away from that cow, and then got to be made pregnant again. They are made
yeah,
to have babies something like 8 times more than they are normally going to.
Yeah.
do in
Yeah.
their life. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the rules make it that you got to let the calf stay sometime with the mother, which is something like 2 hours a day. They're not with their
Yeah.
mother all day long. It's
Yeah.
just like, and then they're removed. So there is some, um, and then,
There's
from
a fair
first,
share between the calf and the business. There's a fair share. Yeah.
yeah, I have to say that when I was just looking at it,
Mm.
it felt nicer. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm.
There there was just a sense that it was a better operation. Um, and however, I did learn later that and I don't quote me on this, I don't want a lawsuit against you, but it's only done in that situation.
Yeah. So I was gonna get there.
So we
So
don't know how
yes, behind
extensive
closed
this
doors,
is
you cannot. Yeah,
if
you
we don't
cannot
have our
validate.
own body governing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's only like the Australian,
See, these kind of things have been pioneered by the palm industry, right? So they
yeah,
have best practice farms
yeah,
get certified, and then they have all these subsidiary farms which are not
yeah,
certified, but they fall under the same consortium, and therefore they share the certification. So then nobody's checking those other, subsidiary farms. And these are the ethical questions, whether the
yeah.
operator is truly ethical, or are they just doing a checklist to fulfill the demand that is, set by the industry. So this
Mm,
is, I think we're still in early days of adoption. I don't know if we'll get to the point where every farmer, is going to be ethical and, practice like
yeah.
as humanely as possible, because that cuts into your bottom line, and, there's a whole bunch of business interests involved there.
So I have my own sort of path in this. So the dairy that I do eat semi regularly is yogurt, and I buy it from the Indian community
Right.
because I just think it is more humane. I haven't
Because they're
checked.
smallholders. They're smallholders. So
They're
their cows
smallholders
can
and they're
walk
Hindu
around. Yeah.
and they're Hindus, so they are
Yeah.
compelled to treat the animals that
Yeah.
animal
There's
well.
a
So I'm
cultural
thinking that
value.
it's actually quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I
And
always
you know
recommend to
that in
people.
India, the
Yeah.
biggest co-op is the Amul factory. So they produce milk, and so you can have one cow, and you can send your whatever 2 liters of milk to the Amul
Oh,
factory, and you will get back 2 liters of milk, pasteurized, or you can just take cash, or you can
okay.
take butter, or you can take
Okay.
packets, or you can let them have it, and then they'll just give you the money for the milk and the
Okay.
butter. So
Yeah.
so that's one of the, yeah, when I first went to India in year 2000, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah. So, and I highly recommend that to anyone that's the best source for yogurt, I find. And it's very
Yeah.
easily available. There's always somewhere next to the temple, any temple in town. There's always a little shop. It's in a little
I want to
box
have
with it.
one cow. I want to have one cow.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe a goat.
Um,
I don't know.
however, the milk is a no go for me. Have you tried the milk?
So it's
It
got a lot of fat. It's got a lot of
it
fat. And that's
it
what people
also
think.
it smells like the cow. I can't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, yeah.
It's
It's the
like,
fat. It's the fat from the cow,
yeah,
right?
I can do the
Just
yolk.
coming back to this,
Yeah.
right? It's like one of the ethical things I think about when I think about animal husbandry and product, which includes my cats, is that, you know how I say one cow? I don't feel that's ethical to have just one cow, because cow is a communal animal, and it needs another cow, So when it moves, somebody's going back to it. So I feel like even with my cats, I cannot just have one cat. I need to have a cat and another cat so that the cat has a friend. So I don't know where it sits on the spectrum of ethics, but I also feel a lot of these mammals especially, mammals cannot live alone.
I think it
So,
matters. I mean, if you have a
yeah,
social animal
yeah,
that can
mammals are very
only
social.
thrive, can
Yeah,
only thrive, like humans,
yeah, happiness comes
That,
from its, reflection of
yeah,
itself.
yeah,
So yeah, I feel like in terms of mammals, yeah, mammals cannot be isolated.
yeah,
Even if they are badly behaved, you
yeah.
cannot isolate them for too long. then they lose all sense of what is center. So then you can splice this many ways. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. So humanely farmed is a thing, and obviously we're talking about beef because it's so inhumanely farmed in the
Yep.
U.S.
Yep.
That is actually very problematic. You know, cows, and this is why I really struggle with politicians, ministers here wanting to emulate American style feedlots. Oh,
The
because
bodo to the
because
max.
those cows are standing in their own shit all day
Yes,
long.
yes, yes.
You know, so that's very problematic. In Malaysia, always when I travel, I'm conscious of what I see, and I see that other animals like goats are better treated.
Yeah.
They're living in semi-free range situations.
Mm,
They live in those little pondok type things.
mm, mm, mm.
Um, I think they eat grass. At Farm Fresh, they eat grass, but they don't eat grass of their own choosing.
Yeah.
Grass is harvested and brought to them.
Yes, 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 yes.
But it
So
does
the
affect
way farms function is that they feed the animal based on the kilojoules the animal needs to consume. So if
yeah,
an animal needs 1,500 kilojoules, then they will calculate how many in that pen, and then they will send that amount, and then that's how they decide what they eat. So whether they're eating oats or barley or wheat or napier grass, and within napier grass, there's like a spectrum, right? There's like 5 to 8 types of napier grass. Some more sweet because they are a bit in the sugarcane. I think they're from the sugarcane family. So some have a sweet, more sugar in it, and some have less sugar in it. So then even napier grass, depending on the variety, they will calculate the kilojoules and then they would feed them that amount for that day, and then they cycle the food type over the days. And then there's
yeah.
also the salt that they get, right? So it depends on the ruminant, and then all that gets mathed out.
Which affects the taste because when I first came back and I just randomly bought Farm Fresh, came back
Mm-mm.
from the US and
It's
I
a, it's a,
and I was
it's a good
like,
milk.
huh?
It's a
I,
good
I
milk.
was I was blown away by it. I was like, my God,
Yeah,
this milk is so good.
yep, yep,
And then I looked into it and discovered, oh, they're grass fed, which is
yep,
in the States that's much more expensive to have
yep,
that. But the other thing about grass fed is actually if you don't grass feed an animal that's supposed to eat grass
yep,
and give it hay and seed instead,
yep.
it's actually a torturous life.
Yeah,
They're
because the
living with
stomach is built for that
it.
grass
Yeah,
digestion.
it's like a
Yep,
life of indigestion and pain and gas and
yep,
which then spills over to environmental issues,
yep.
methane gas, blah, blah.
Yep.
It's
And it
really not
becomes
a good.
a health hazard between the animals as well, because they can, when a human body is malnourished, you get a lot of blisters, you get a lot of illnesses that you can then pass on, and in animals the vulnerability is a lot higher. So yeah.
So another related topic to humanely farmed, and I guess now there's a because usually if it's humanely farmed, it also tends to be organic. Those two things do
Yeah,
tend to sit side by
I think it's the
side.
value of the farmer, right? The farmer
And,
has
and
values that it applies across the board.
right, and one problem with conventional farm meat is actually the amount of antibiotics being used in animal husbandry.
Yep,
70% of the world usage of antibiotics is used in agriculture.
yep. Also because
So
you need to look at the numbers of livestock. So that's why the quantum.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So they're only supposed to use it as the same way that humans use it for
Yeah,
illness or
into
to,
vaccination.
but
Yeah.
actually they don't. They actually use it for growth
Yep.
because it does make the animal grow faster. So it's actually used in it's automatically put in feed now.
Right.
Antibiotic is actually part of the ingredients of
That's sad.
commercial feed. Yeah. Um, okay. So then the second thing it suggests is wild caught fish, which avoids this problem. Because wild caught fish is not going to be. There's no antibiotic.
Yep.
Uh, they have shorter lifespan. Okay, this is another ethical issue which I never even thought of until I listened in on this.
Mm.
So there's an argument that says in your whole lifetime, if you eat meat every day, if you eat beef every day, you're only going to get through like 12 cows or something.
Okay.
But if you eat shrimp, you're going to eat thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's thousands of lives that you will take as opposed to
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
And
Sufficient.
I can't wrap my head around that. I'm like, which is also, which is kind of related to the issue of eating animals. And I actually do a thing with kids because I do want them to think about it. So I
Mm.
do this module called, and it's a book, actually, the title of a book. Some we love, some we eat, and
Yeah.
some we kill.
Mm.
So there is actually a moral quandary around how we treat animals,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Which is has all kinds of reasoning. There's vermin issues, there's religious issues, there's
Population issues. So one of the biggest
population.
contradiction between conservation and um was it's consider I think it's like wildlife well-being is culling. So in wildlife well-being, it's better to have a small group of healthy and self-governed wildlife that have a large population but in captivity.
Mm,
Okay, so conservation is all about keeping it alive, but
okay.
the quality of life is not so much the concern.
So that's different from like concepts of rewilding, where you're trying to recreate natural ecosystems.
So rewilding would fit more
Yeah,
in animal well-being than in conservation.
yeah. But it lets the animal sort of regulate, like
Yes.
you've heard about how
So the
when they
question was
bring,
culling, right? So the question was culling. So when you talk about culling,
yeah,
conservation will not allow you to cull, even if it's like
ah,
the breed is already starting to age, but it's over consuming the resources in a place.
right, yeah.
You know,
Which sort of
reintroduction,
happens in a natural way. If you have I mean, like wolves will eat the
survival of the
things,
fittest.
the
Yes, when you have
herbivores that,
cornerstone species, they
yeah,
will wipe out all the weak,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
when you talk about animal well-being, there's all these other complex dynamics that are
yeah,
taken into consideration compared to conservation. To some extent, conservation at its raw state is to save as much as we can. So the quality is not as measured or as deeply thought of than animal well-being. So typically they have a lot of similar values, but there are certain points where they will differ, and that's
right.
where people are arguing. Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, so there is this, so this is an issue of sentience also, like
yeah,
did the shrimp suffer because it suffocated for half an hour? There are issues all around it. Yeah.
yeah,
But personally, so this is, I think this is something that would suggest for someone is I think you have to grasp as much as you can and build a philosophy of your own that you can. So, uh, I subscribe to these things, and I subscribe to the idea of eating wild caught fish. Which is easier. This is another thing. You can subscribe to it, but if you can't get it and
yeah,
you can't afford it,
yeah.
then
It's
it's
not
not
doesn't
really a
appeal.
reality for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
It is wild caught fish is a reality in Malaysia. It's not difficult to get.
yeah.
It's
No,
not, it's only, yeah.
also you think about invasive species, right? Fish
Another thing,
invasive species.
another interesting issue.
So,
Yeah.
so when you have that and you're talking about animal well-being, you're talking about
Yeah.
the endemic species that should be in that stream. So then you go out and you fish your heart out of the, how to say, the invasive species. Eat every
Uh,
one. You get what I mean?
sure.
So
Sure.
when you have a philosophy of what is the ethical line that or scope that you're looking
Yeah.
at,
Yeah.
then you define what is
Yeah.
the wild caught fish that you're eating, right?
Yeah.
So wild caught invasive species, great,
Yeah.
right? But wild caught endemic, which is low in population, which is during breeding period, big no no. So
Yeah.
these are the conversations you need to be like thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing is also there's some friction about this because actually the knowledge gap. I mean, we have an article on Nature Base called Wild Caught Fish. Malaysian wild caught fish, which
Yeah.
is actually quite hard to know because most of this kind of literature is very Western centric.
Yeah.
You're not going to find, and I was just lucky that a friend of mine here,
Yeah.
his father was a fisherman.
Yeah.
So I asked him to help me construct a list of what. So if you go to the market, so this is what I do. I go to the market. First of all, I ask them, where did it come from?
Yeah.
If it's coming from Sedilli, it's very likely that it's wild caught because there's a lot of wild caught coming into Sedilli from the South China Sea.
Right.
If it's coming from the Pontian side,
Mm.
there's a lot of fish farming along the Malacca Strait. So you're less likely to see a
Yeah.
wild caught fish, you know.
Yeah.
There are other things that you have to funnel that through. Like what kind of fish is it?
Yeah.
Like, we eat a lot of siakap. Almost all siakap is farmed now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe ikamera, like a redfish. Some are farmed, and some are wild caught.
Right.
So that's my first thing. Where did it come from?
Yeah.
And then I ask what it is. And then it's quite challenging, like, because you'll get a Malay name, you know,
Right.
and then I have to go back out of Google up. And then it's like, sometimes I try it and actually, oh, it's not so nice. It's
Yeah.
like kind of a muddy flavored fish, you know. So, you have to find your own way around it. So I have a path, I ask what it is and I gravitate. Like Tangiri is good.
Yeah.
Ikamera is good.
Yeah.
There are a few things that I know how to make those selections on.
Nice.
Um, and this is something that I could not afford to do in the States. Wild caught fish is extremely expensive. Fish is expensive. So
It's a huge
wild caught
landlocked
fish,
country. Yeah.
huh?
It's a huge landlocked country unless you are on the outsides of it.
Oh, and also just the costs of bringing it to market,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
labor, all
That's why
those.
fly fishing is a big thing.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's why farmed fish is so
As
much
well. Yeah.
cheaper. Okay, and then another category is free range eggs is another great category.
Right.
Uh, eggs actually have the highest. There's a calculation about protein.
Mm-hmm.
Eggs actually have the highest that number for protein.
Oh, it's called PBCA. I think it's called absorbance, the highest level of absorbency of protein.
Okay,
Ability for us to absorb that protein.
okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Availability, bioavailability is very important in food. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
However, the problem is getting it. It's so hard to get free range
Good.
eggs. I thought when I first came back that that's what kampong eggs were. But they're not. Kampong eggs is not free range. It may have meant free range at one time,
Yeah.
but
I
now
was
it
gonna say,
now but now it just means that breed of chicken.
so this is the conundrum when branding goes wrong, and then there's opportunistic market manipulation, because
So
kampong egg used to be the kampong part, just has chickens in his house, and then those chickens have eggs, and then you just buy them, at a random day, and then he has like a lot of it. And they're meant to be that they're absolutely free roaming, they're eating insects, they're eating whatever that they can find, and then they will have a little bit of feed on top of that. So they are typically not, eating feed, That's kind of what kampong eggs should be. And when you open a kampong egg, you're supposed to get like this yellow orange type color,
sure.
richness in
Yeah,
color,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the white albumin part should be very viscous.
Yeah, we
And
we
that's how
sold
you tell the difference.
we
Yeah.
sold organic eggs for a while at the park, and
Yeah.
they tasted incredible. They looked incredible. You can really tell the difference,
Yeah.
but
But now,
it's really hard to get. One of the problems here is actually predators.
yeah.
There's so much loss through predators that it's actually very difficult to have free range for meat or eggs
Yeah.
because they just
That is
it's
because
eagles, it's dogs, it's
things
monitor lizards, snakes. Yeah, it's really a
you
big
look at it
problem.
this way. When you shrink the forest and you remove habitat and ecology,
Yeah,
all these guys out there hanging around need to go someplace, right? And
sure.
then the easiest goal is
Yeah.
a farm. And then the
Also,
easier
I
farm
mean,
is the
also it's a
porridge farm.
completely unnatural resource.
Yeah,
In nature, you're not going to get a collection of durian trees in one space or, 30 chickens. You know what I mean? It's a very unnatural situation.
yeah.
Okay, so let's look at, you know, before you even decide what to do, you will probably have a point of view about eating meats just based on a few different things. One is
Mm.
your culture and religion, right?
Yep,
Your culture and religion will define a lot of attitudes
yep.
to meat. Some meats are haram, some meats are forbidden, uh, so on and so forth.
And what your mother cooks. If your mother
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
cook
yeah.
something, you
Which
ain't
is
gonna
very
eat it.
it's very geographically
Yeah,
based. And geographically based, we as a geographically in this region were
yeah,
seafood eaters. You
yeah,
know, meat eating was actually brought by the colonials. Animal husbandry at that kind of scale
yeah.
was actually something that the colonials brought. You know,
Yeah, but also you remember when we did unschool and we were in Sarawak, and
yeah,
for them, bushmeat is more available. So they've never really had a strong vegetable like food base. They always had vegetables
yeah,
and some kind of meat. So for us to
yeah.
get vegan food in Sarawak was murder. It was really difficult.
No, and we
We had
had
to
this
hunt.
conversation there because there is a there is a difference between being an absolutist vegan
Yeah,
and someone who eats a largely plant-based diet
yeah.
with just some
Sprinkling of
fish,
yes,
ikan bilis,
yeah,
anchovy, which
yes.
to me is completely irrational to
Yeah,
do.
yeah. A bit of quail, a bit of
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But
yeah,
you are having, because it was driven by a very Western centric point of view,
yeah.
you're trying to get almond milk, which is the
Oh my
carbon
god, so
footprint.
unethical.
It's like, doesn't make sense, right?
But yeah,
And
it's a conversation.
and
It's a conversation to be
that's
had.
happening. That's just happening at just a very basic level. People are so awash with information
Yeah,
that is Euro and American centric. They actually think that is the better way to eat, you know?
they wish.
So
Yeah.
this is one problem
It
that
may
I
be
think
better. It may be better in the US. It may be better in the UK. It may be better in Europe. It may be better because the food miles for that particular item to get to them is closer.
true.
But for us in Asia, the food miles are insane. These things are coming through warehouse. It's sitting on a ship. It's being transported from a faraway place. It takes longer for it to travel to us and sit at the
Yeah,
shelf before we consume it. So
yeah,
the ethics for us will be different for compared to the ethics for them in our place. So these are conversations that people need to actively have when they're
yeah,
really navigating what foods they're
yeah,
gonna, keep on the menu or
yeah.
reduce on the menu. Yeah.
I'll go back to geography when I'm comparing some countries. But the next thing is actually the next big category is science, data, and new understanding. So this is something that's changing more rapidly
Yep.
nowadays. It was only like a couple of years ago that the whole idea of eating meat was upended. There was all this new research that said red
Yep.
meat is actually bad for you.
Yep.
You know, what was considered a classic American diet is now considered really bad for you. There, you're being actively asked to reduce and stop, so we're seeing a lot more new information appear. And also it's also appearing as casual information, like part of the humanity thing. Also, is
Yeah.
when I see a YouTube video of how they treat animals. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they did that.
It is also a practice in place. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I really don't buy chickens anymore because I've just seen too many videos of people just throwing the chicken, you know, chickens with no feathers, their beaks cut off, because that's the only way they can manage them, you know? So,
So the reason why chickens peck each other is
yeah.
because they're not getting enough protein in their food.
Is
So
that
if
right?
you see chicken with their beaks cut off, don't buy that chicken because you know the way they're raising that chicken is unethical. That's it.
But
So
there is no rule about that here. And I think a lot of our chickens have their beaks cut off.
uh I don't know. So far I've never bought chicken with their beaks cut off. I mean, because I buy
Oh,
from
okay. Hey, that's true. That's true. That's
yeah,
true. You're right. You're right. I
yeah.
don't see
So
that either.
here with
Yeah, yeah,
CTO
yeah, yeah.
organic, you
Yeah,
actually have to have a certain proportion of protein in the diet. So like I
yeah.
know DQ Farm in Bentong, and Mr. Wong, he obviously he's organic and all that. So he's got like a crazy standard of how he raises his chickens. But he's freely sharing information because he wants everyone to do better. And he boils bananas, he provides how to say black soldier fly larvae in the feed. You know, he puts in other things like cempedak nangka. He boils them up and then he uses that as feed as well. So he has varying feed mixes that he will feed his chickens so that they
Right.
have the right nutrient balance as well as the amount of kilojoules they need to consume on top of having nutrient density in their food and not just eating feed. So, you know,
Oh,
so
okay.
these are things.
I
Yeah.
I lied when I said I don't buy chicken. I do buy chicken, but not for
Mm,
myself. I
mm.
have three carnivores that I have to feed.
Yeah. The cute ones.
So
Can
I
eat.
do. I am dealing with the chicken, and I have to say, and I just realized that the beaks are fine. But what is not fine is their feet,
Yes, they have a lot of calluses.
and it's like it's dirty. That means they're standing in shit.
Or
It's
it's
like black from.
very bumpy because they are standing on grated surfaces.
Oh,
So they injure their feet a lot more as well.
yeah.
So yeah, these are things when you are buying chicken, which I do. I buy oh god, I buy my own chicken all the time. So I see these things. I check the feet, I check the beak.
But how can you navigate this? Because there's only two kinds of chicken at the supermarket.
Go to a different supermarket.
Oh, I
That's the
see.
other way of doing it because not
Okay,
all use the same supplier, right? So
that's
yeah, then
true.
you have
That's
to shop a
true.
little bit.
I have to say, yeah, sometimes I will, and sometimes even the supermarket is not buying from the same supplier,
Yes,
and it
correct.
changes. Then it's like, oh wow, that chicken's really good.
Yes.
You know?
So you always
So
gotta keep your eyes peeled for stuff.
yeah.
No, but that's part of like if you think about it, that's modern day scavenging, right? Instead of scavenging in the forest, you're scavenging in the supermarket. You're looking for the best quality
Yeah.
vegetable, you're
I'm
looking for the variety of
foraging. You're
vegetables.
foraging for.
Yeah. It's just that the difference is you're also paying money for what you're foraging.
Yeah.
So yeah, the
Well, I
human
mean, this is
design.
actually part. This is actually part of my interest in it, and how we're going to develop this because
Yeah.
I think the information is so complex. It is contradictory. It's
Yeah.
there's not like one source that you can okay. So which we'll have to keep looping back to some of these
Yeah.
concepts. But I do want to move on to uh we sort of talked about some broad philosophical things. So
Mm.
there are some science-based things that we need to talk about, and that is actually also confusing, which is
Yeah.
how much meat should you eat?
Mm.
So even that, I looked at various sources, they're all slightly different,
Mm.
you know. So now they say
Mm-hmm.
that you are supposed to eat, there's a difference between meat and protein. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
uh, like
Yeah.
Uh, so you're actually supposed to the dietary rules now are weight based. So if you're this weight, but it's roughly, say someone my weight, I should be eating um 60 grams of protein per day, which is 420 grams per week. And then I read something else that actually says I should only eat 90 grams of red meat a week.
Yeah.
So that's already increased. That's we've gone up, and that's just red meat. We're not even talking about any other kinds of meat. Um, but the 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 general science revolves around s- dietary allowance to prevent deficiency for an average sedentary adult. That means you
Correct.
got to eat good amounts of protein, otherwise you
Yeah.
will start to become ill. And that's 60 grams of protein a day. So that's
I think
420
then
a
look
week.
at the quality of the protein that you're eating as well, right? Because as you age, you are oxidizing. That's one. You are also using up a lot of nutrients within your system unreplenished. So
Yeah.
you're not just talking about it at a protein level, you're talking about it at an amino acid level. And what is the quality of the amino acid that you're consuming? So I guess
Yeah.
then when you look at if it's plant based versus if it's animal based, then you have different qualifiers for those requirements. And supplements are one thing, but eating the real thing means you have nutrient dense food that is healing your, replenishing your system, right? So
Yeah, it's
then I guess there's
bioavailable.
so
Yeah.
much.
I mean, we're technically omnivores, so
Yeah,
meat is bioavailable to us. Actually, and even that is an evolutionary thing. I mean, we weren't always,
correct.
we became more carnivorous as we evolved.
I guess
Um,
we ate what was easier. It was easier to eat plants because plants were not running away or eating us
yeah, yeah,
compared to animals. There was a risk to hunting
yeah,
animals. But
yeah.
then when as the seasons changed, right, especially in fall climate environments, meat was something that gave you more satiation, right? You're more satiated. And when you cook it, you get different things. So I guess the evolution changed based on its
Yeah,
fit.
I mean, there are actually a couple of phases of that. One is actually, I think humans discovered how incredibly efficient it was to get your calorific needs
Mm,
met by eating animals. Suddenly, and then we got bigger,
yeah.
so on and so forth. So I mean, the theory is that we started as foragers,
Yes.
which would take us all day.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It
Yeah.
would take us all day, and then it would many hours to actually digest all that very fibrous stuff that we would have
I
to
mean,
do.
you look at the historical records, right? In so Egypt, Bahrain, that whole area, that whole region known as the Fertile Crescent, all of that, well, there was a wheat growing region. You see in the hieroglyphs, right? In the Egyptian hieroglyphs, they tell you how many stalks of wheat has been sent by whatever um, province that is sending stuff to them. And then you look at, like, say, the Peruvian Andes, they had all the potatoes, if I'm not mistaken, different kinds of potatoes. Then you got yams from Africa, you've got rice from Asia, you've got um, corn as well, I think, corn from Mexico. I mean, these were where the original places that these things were farmed, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, history tells you that we were primarily vegetarian to begin with.
So history is a great point because one interesting way to look at meat eating is actually look at our own history in Malaysia.
Yep.
So we are now eating almost as much meat as Americans eat,
The American dream.
which is 120 kilos a year,
That's
which
insane.
is 2,300 grams per week.
No, I think I eat more rice than I do meat. But yeah, not that it's healthier.
So that is 2020. In 1960, in 1960, we ate 50, 53, I think. Where did I get that? Yeah, in 1960, we ate 36 grams of meat. And now we eat 100. In 2022, we eat 103 grams. 103 grams. And the breakdown is also interesting. In 2022, we eat 52 kilos of meat and 51 uh, of seafood.
Okay.
In 1960, it was 15 meat and 21 seafood.
I think we need something to qualify this information. We need to know the economic demographic of the people that have been surveyed for this outcome.
Yeah,
Because
because
I
richer
don't think,
people eat more meat.
yeah, I think that you have to be upper middle class to earn that kind of money to eat that kind of food. Because
I
a
think
lot of,
before for sure. I mean, I
yeah,
think, when I talk to my friends,
mhm,
I ask them like how much eat, because this is not a question I asked when I was a kid
yeah,
to my friends. But I did notice that I was eating more meat than them
yeah.
because I'm Eurasian and we ate more a Western style diet. And now that I'm asking them, they only ate meat once a week, maybe sometimes once a month, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
Otherwise, it's like little teeny tiny
Yeah,
slivers.
Yeah.
bits of fat,
Yeah.
tempeh,
Yeah.
which actually made us a lot healthier because now we have obesity and
Also,
certain
our
things.
work was more movement based. Like, people would literally travel to school
That's
by
true too.
walking.
Yeah,
And
we're not so sedentary.
now everybody just
Yeah,
sitting in a car, and
yeah.
jump on a bike.
So, so we're close to Americans. We're just underneath Americans in meat eating now, which is probably the reason why it's a health crisis now. With obesity. What is interesting is India. So India's meat eating was right now it's 15 kilo a year
Okay.
compared to 100 and something in Malaysia.
Hmm.
And in 1960s, it was 7 grams a year. So they're historically vegetarian.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is the median, I guess. There are people who eat meat and people who don't eat meat. And what they used to eat in the 1960s of 288 grams is actually what a new study out of Denmark is saying is the sustainable amount of meat we should be eating,
Right.
and only white meat,
On,
i.e., only poultry and pork. Absolutely no red meat because red meat is much more demanding on the environment,
okay.
which is kind of interesting. I mean, I think I just want to map I don't have a point of view of any of this because I think it's like
I
we
think if we circle back to what we talked about earlier in the podcast was that
yeah
um especially in Asia, we
yeah
have a system of farming where it has animal and vegetable in the same space. So you
yeah
need the animal manure to fertilize your
sure
vegetation.
sure
So you may have the cow for its milk, and at some point it's meat, but for the most of it, you want its poop to fertilize your
yeah
farm. And
yeah
then if you have chickens and you have a BSF, how to say, small farm, where you are using all your food waste to feed the BSF, and then you get the little bugs, and then the bugs go to feed your chicken, then you have a
yeah
system, right? So you have
yeah
this multi-layered dynamics of animal and vegetation. And I think Asian farming has always had that at some scale, whether it's
yeah
small scale in someone's house or a medium scale, which is at, like 100 chicken kind of headcount, or like in a larger scale, and it becomes industrial, and then they don't do the other bits together. They sell the manure to somebody else.
yeah.
The chicken manure gets processed into pellets.
I
So
think
yeah,
there's also
still
like
not.
there's also a knowledge gap and innovation gap that we could be doing a lot better. For example, when I get to the farm in Desaru, we really need to research. Actually, what we saw, what Inchlim was doing, he was using fish foliar feed, right? He was
Mhm.
turning fish guts, which is actually just part of. It's a waste. It's a
Yeah.
zero waste
We used to
procedure.
teach that in our gang Jari job program. We just make a lot of it. Yeah. We
Yeah.
just get fish guts from the market. Yeah.
So that's something I kind of want to get into. And like right now, I actually buy fish oil feed from the East Coast, and it's a
Mhm.
lot cheaper than actual fertilizer. I have to buy a grass fertilizer for one of my clients because they
Mm.
have not because I put it in, but because they already have it. And that's like it's 10 ringgit a kilo. To buy the fish one, it's something like 150 a kilo.
Okay.
So, you know, but there's an availability issue, there's a
Yeah.
knowledge
No,
issue
because
about people
the
using
fish,
it.
FAA, is enzymic. So if you keep it too long, it loses its enzymic value, and then it's just sugar. So
Oh,
that's why as soon as when it finishes its 40-50 day cycle, depending on how the recipe goes, you need to consume it within like 60 days. And
really? I didn't know that.
because it's
Okay.
it's alive, it's an enzyme based fertilizer.
Ah,
Yeah, so it's
interesting.
not good to keep it too long. Yeah.
Okay. Good to
Yeah. So
know.
that's why the
All right.
dilution is also very specific.
Okay, so this is interesting about the historic thing because one of the things that Michael Pollan kept uh uh, grounding his conversation is in, and I think that's something that we kind of need to do here, except from a much more local point of view,
Mm.
is our culinary heritage. Actually, a lot of these better ways of eating, farming, animal treatment, all these things were actually part of our culinary wisdom that has been overridden by this capitalistic, industrialized food system that
Yeah.
now has just blown into this region,
Yeah.
and there's very little friction against because we don't question it very much, you know. And so
True.
when his book came out, he actually started to talk more about this sort of connection with uh, historic culture around food, which is also why it's a little less pervasive in Europe. You know, the
Yeah.
Europeans were actually didn't want the Americans to come in with their Starbucks and their McDonald's. Like Italy is a
Yeah.
good example. They really resisted it
Yeah.
for a very long time, and
Yeah.
they that's why they have they protected their artisanal farm, you know, their smaller farmers, their artisanal producers, and it's remained current, you know. Whereas here, you know, we're really
Mm.
losing that culture, you know, the knowledge, uh, re- hey, 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 hey.
Mhm.
Sorry. Here's a new thing. It's
Okay. Okay.
checking this last week, Layla and
Tiga.
no, uh, Tommy.
Why?
Don't know. I don't know what triggers it. I don't know what triggers it. Yeah.
So funny. Usually they're
Yeah,
good friends.
I wonder if her sight is there's a problem with her sight. She
Oh,
barks
peripheral.
more at people. Yeah, she barks more at people. I don't know if this is an issue that she,
Mm.
you know, things just seem more, you know,
Scary.
ominous to her. Yeah, we'll have to check this out.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so I was talking about the, you know, just food culture, and so he was also always trying to root it back to, you know, what did your grandma eat, you know,
Right.
because really it's being overridden by this new food system, which is corn syrup. You know, they're reconstructing food with corn syrup and salt and fat and stuff like that. When actually, what we think of as culinary heritage is actually wisdom. It's a kind of ancient centuries of wisdom that has kind of worked, which is kind of why India is quite interesting because you know you hear a lot about uh, vegetarians having health issues now because they're not
The
constructing the right
imbalance.
diet.
Yeah.
But that's not a problem in India. They've been vegetarians for centuries, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. So
right?
was I reading it or was I hearing it? I can't remember. One of the two. Um, and it was about why Indians typically have a protruded belly is because they're eating so much carbohydrate and sugar that is not digesting very well, and therefore it's very bloating and gassy.
Yeah.
So they may be having different issues from what we're thinking of, but I don't think they're out of the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did read that it is changing, and you know, when I talk to Raghu, it is changing, but mostly there's more pushback in India. I think that
Mhm.
the friction in India against it is higher
Yeah.
than
Yeah. Yeah.
I think in Malaysia. It's
Yeah.
everyone's
Because
having this
like
one.
diaspora Indians
Yeah,
are a little bit opposite from typical diaspora because the diaspora Indians are much quicker to adapt to what's happening in the outside world than what's happening in India. So they are definitely, becoming less vegetarian in some cases. Yeah. Or even their vegan diet, their vegetarian diet includes a wider range of foods than what is typical to India. So in that sense, the diaspora is a little bit more morphed than what a typical diaspora is, where they only do what the homeland did. So yeah, interesting times.
okay, so let's move on to the more alternatives, which is one of them is plant-based food.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, which is kind of an obvious, you know, the
Mm-hmm.
logic is kind of obvious. Why are we using a middleman, which is an animal to process our vegetables and then we eat the animal. You know what I mean? It's like cut out the middleman, and
Okay.
so there,
Middleman
there's
is
a
yum.
base logic that kind of makes sense as well. But the problem is actually the you know meat has just become so cheap. It has become such a big business that nobody wants to give it up. And however much you try and make organic meats and sustainable, it's. I mean, I've known about it for so long, and it's a tough call. It's a smaller segment of the food industry. You know, um, plant-based foods. How, on the other hand, I see as a quite an interesting space
Mm.
because, uh, and it's not stable yet. I mean, it sort of blew up a few years ago, and you started to see things like Beyond Meat, which is the burger. There was Ripple Milk. There was
Yeah.
egg alternatives. It became quite a thing, and then now it's going down. They're going out of business. They're not doing as well. So there needs to be some adjustments in this. But in general, this is quite a hopeful area because it's about it's about technology, you know, and we sort of live in this technological age where these things maybe could get easier to figure
I
out
think
how.
it could just be policy, right? It's like you could make it like all schools must have one plant-based diet option in the menu.
Sure.
It will
Yeah.
mainstream it because the number of students eating is high. Do this in a food court. In your food court, you need to have 20% of your vendors that serve you plant-based food. That's it. Numbers will go up. It needs policy. It cannot just be makers trying to make it and have no consumers. But if the consumers are funneled because the
Yeah.
system makes these things are part of the options, then you are making it available, and then you support
Well,
both
I
the
mean, that's going to
producer
be a
and
huge
the consumer.
problem. Have you seen the food in a hospital?
Okay, I've been hospitalized in the
Have
national
you seen
hospital.
the food
I'm
in a
very
school?
grateful for their
Have you
support and services,
have you
but
seen a
food is
food in the
very
school? Have you seen food in a school?
not in a while.
It's like the food in the hospital. It's all fried stuff. It's sausages. It's chicken nuggets.
This comes back to the PIBG, right? The Parent Teacher
Yeah.
Association.
So I agree with you on the
Yeah,
policy part, but
yeah.
we don't have that kind of
So
skill set.
in
Yeah.
France, all France and Singapore, yeah, two places, France and Singapore, they have central kitchens for the certain dishes that are served in the school canteen. So the school canteen operator has several scopes of work: provide cutleries, cleaning services. They can sell drinks. They can sell a la carte dishes. But there are certain things that come from the central kitchen. In France, everything comes from the central kitchen. So then all the students get a standard set meal across the region or the district or the area. So this doesn't just control the price, but the quality of the food that goes out. And that's why when you have the third vote, where you get to appoint your council member, these things become important because they are part of the people who are managing and overseeing the central kitchens. So they become the arm and the eyes of the health board and all these kind of things. So there is a safeguard and a measure to manage and maintain this quality. So here we don't have that, and that's a
Yeah.
system. Yeah,
Um, the the other thing with plant-based is, we have some good resources. We have things like tofu and tempeh, very easily available, really very cheap, very
yep,
much part of our cultural heritage. And
yep.
if anything, we are uh losing our interest in eating it more than,
I mean, there are
more
many
than
ways of making the food more interesting as well, but we're
yeah,
not innovative enough to do it.
yeah. I think part of it is because it's a food sovereignty thing. Our tastes are changing. Kids don't
True.
want to eat tempeh. They want to eat a burger. They want to eat pizza. They don't want to eat you know, a tofu dish. You know, so
But
so
soon
this
everybody
is
will go sourdough crazy, right?
yeah.
So it's just a matter of
Now
making tempeh a bit more sexy.
So I like sort of Western style plant-based food. So I tried it and it was okay. I tried like Beyond Meat and I was like, okay, if they sold this in McDonald's,
Yeah.
I would eat it. I don't eat at McDonald's now, but if they sold it at McDonald's, I would eat it.
What
And if it
if
was,
that McDonald's does have a vegan burger?
I don't know if it has as one that's like a Beyond Meat, which is very good.
Mm.
It's looks like a burger. It kind of
It's
has the
bean based, right?
texture. Huh?
It's bean based, right?
No, no,
They
it's
use
soy
beans.
based. It's
Oh,
soy based. It's soy based, but it's constructed to actually. There's almost like a blood element in it.
oh,
They use something called heme to create a sort of a red blood thing. It's fiber. It kind of is. It's not. There's a point where, like when they first came out, I actually went it because Singapore sold it. I went to Singapore to eat it, and it was a
right.
ridiculous price, which was kind of ridiculous. It was at this nice cafe, and they brought it out. It ended up being like a $40 meal or something, 40 Singapore dollar meal, and it was and I thought I was eating like a very low quality McDonald's. And I thought, okay, I would eat this if this was the same price as the McDonald's, and I would go and ask for it regularly. But anyway, my point is actually, I think the Americans were innovating with this. It was coming here at a ridiculous price, and it was just not affordable. And then I started to see some Malaysian companies Nestle had a brand called Harvest Gourmet,
Yeah.
and I was buying that the Hainanese chicken cutlet thing,
Oh, okay, okay.
which was brilliant. Which was
Mm.
brilliant. I couldn't tell the difference. I was eating that quite regularly. You know, I
Do
was,
they still have
and
it
that
now?
was, and that's my criteria. It's like if it's almost as good as, and it's
Yeah.
not more expensive than, I would switch. You know,
Mm.
it's closed.
Oh
That
no.
division, that division of Nestle is closed. Then I ate something really cool in KL at some vegan fair, and it was an Indonesian product called Rebel Foods.
Okay.
Actually, I met you at that fair. Do you remember?
Mm.
Did you eat it? It's very good in curry because you can't tell what it is in the curry, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you can't buy it here. It's like
Yeah.
you just can't buy it. Uh,
Mm.
so an important part of solution is availability. If you can't buy it and it's not affordable, it's not a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it may be a solution in a small scale. It's not scalable.
It's a solution for
Yeah.
rich people or,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is a challenge for us, to
Mm-mm.
if it's not available, we can't get it, then we can't do better, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Another category, and I'll be curious to see what you think of it because this is actually quite controversial. I personally don't think, which is cultivated meat or cell-based meat. Animal protein grown in a lab from a small sample of animal cells. What do you think about that?
I feel like it depends on what you're trying to grow, right? If it's just muscle meat where you're
Yeah, yeah,
getting, how to say, steaks, a lot of flavor actually comes from the bone. So you need to be growing the bone with the muscle meat.
yeah.
So I think it depends. If you're trying to just make something that's comparable to meat, but you're not replicating meat, it's like you're eating vegan pork. Do you get what I mean?
I mean, I don't know about that
Yeah.
because
It depends what you
there's a threshold. Like I said
yeah,
with the burger, I was like, you know what?
it's
It
close
meets
enough.
my threshold. If it's at
Yeah.
80%, I'm
So
fine.
that's us. That's our
Yeah,
acceptance level because we have all this
yeah,
thinking behind it. But
yeah.
for
No,
the
no.
person
The
who doesn't
pushback
know,
is not. The pushback
yeah.
isn't about that. The pushback is actually about ethics.
Yeah, but that's my
Because
point. If the people are not doing what they're saying, yeah.
only God can create an animal, not a human, not another
But
human.
you're
It's
not
actually
creating
a
an animal. You're
but
just
it's
creating
that the pushback is from religious people.
yeah, but you're not creating an animal. An
It's the
animal has
same. It's the same
all the
angle.
aspects.
it's the same angle like stem cell and stuff like that. It's actually ethically, uh,
You know what?
yeah.
Is the solution to that? Population control. They will exit the system faster. Never mind.
What do you mean? What do
That
you
means
mean?
the people who don't want to consume these types of foods will
Yeah.
exit the system faster. That's it. No issue.
Except they will become a burden on our system because they won't give up the things that they want to eat. They will
Okay,
go,
then
they will become obese. They will
yeah, then they
oppress
will
our
exit
health
the system
system.
sooner.
Yeah. They will live longer because that's the way of life is now.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't have a
There's
problem with
only
that
so
because,
many things that we
really,
can
if you
control.
actually think of the mechanics of it, you're
Yeah,
really doing that by eating animals. Animals are just your lab growing the meat for you, you know, because it's from a plant-based source. They're
yeah.
actually herbivores.
Mm.
You're just making them do that work for you so that you get this concentrated,
Synthesizing. They're synthesizing
yeah,
the plants into
yeah,
something else, into
yeah,
a byproduct that then you
yeah,
consume.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that it is the territory if it's not well controlled. And, this is actually an issue in general with the digital and the technical world. There's a worry now that these things are not being managed very well.
Mm.
People are being allowed to do things.
Comes
Uh,
back to different sets of
there's
ethics.
not enough structure that we could run into. But that's why a lot of people scared about AI. There are actually people dying from suicide because they're
Mm.
using AI bots and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I don't think we're moving fast enough from the understanding on the ethics part of it to
Yeah.
actually manage the outcomes. So, yeah. So, okay. So this is the general map of the terrain.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we need to be able to say, we recommend you do this, and here's why.
Mm.
You know, and
Yeah.
that's not that easy to do. Quite frankly, uh, to actually map it out and
But
build
the
a sort
value
of
is the conversation as well.
true.
Sometimes you can't map something if you have nothing to, um, you know, push it against, bounce it against. So there needs to be hornbill. There needs to be a certain level. There, coming by now. Two. Toot,
Oh
toot.
yeah, yeah, I see
See?
it. Yep, yep, yep,
Three,
yep.
four. Hornbills
Wow.
on site. Yeah. So I feel like having the conversation, having it not just once, but multiple times throughout your life. Like
Okay,
I
so
feel
actually, so that is actually just part one. That's why we give them a plant-based meal. They can
yeah,
just
yeah.
taste it, talk about it.
Like
Does
for
that
me,
taste good? What do you
my
think?
godmom's Hindu and she goes to an ashram in India and I've been kidnapped to this ashram before.
Yeah,
And just having a totally vegetarian meal for like a week was a bit intense when you've never done vegetarianism before. And then doing vegetarianism when someone in the family passes away, it's different kinds of food because when you're in India and in an ashram, the food is different. When you're in Malaysia and you're eating vegetarian, it's different.
sure.
And you observe all these cultural practices and you start to go like, oh, maybe I could do a bit more of this. Okay, I prefer that over this. Like I could eat Thai rice anytime, you know? And these are the things you learn when you try it. But that's trying.
Yeah,
Similar to trying is also the conversation. When you hear it for the first time, you should only eat this in a very directive way. It's very hard to palate. But if it goes like, hey, why don't you try this? It's really nice as an
yeah,
alternative to that. And then you try
yeah,
that in a very comfortable way, in a very aesthetic way. And you're
yeah.
more likely to seek this out again or to become like, hey, you know what? I really like that. I'm going to make that in my next time I do an open house.
Yeah, I
And
think
then
the
you
other.
adopt it into your culture. It's a process. It's not you get in and then you're there. Yeah,
I think
it's a
the other thing
lifestyle.
is actually the rationalization of our culinary history and heritage as well,
Yeah,
because I think a lot of the times we don't look at it as this sort of rich resource.
yeah,
You know what I mean? We do it because it's just what we do, or it's just the
yeah.
rules.
We take
You
for
know.
granted a lot of things. Yeah,
So I mean, I hear like my Hindu friends saying, "Oh, we're vegetarian for that one day," but I
yeah,
wonder if that should be much more clearly not narrated why it makes sense to do that.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And we didn't really get to your point about how like indigenous communities
Mm.
regulate how they will task
Yep.
their environment, which I
Yep.
think is uh,
Because they're so
part of
in tune. They are so in tune with the
yeah,
environment.
yeah,
They know when things are there. They know when things are not. They can estimate how much of it is there, and
yeah,
they negotiate. You know how when we play the game, um tragedy of commons, and we say everybody
yeah,
has to catch fish, and like how much fish are you going to catch? Are you going to concede to somebody else to let them take a spot and then you step back, or are you just going to go for the profits? So in the indigenous community system, they are doing this in real time, in real life, and having those conversations about, okay, today we will step back, and tomorrow you can, you will take your turn to step back. And so it is very highly um, discussed within that system, and that's why they have a chief, and the chief of chiefs, where all the smaller village comes together, has a lot more authority and a lot more, I guess, responsibility. So
yeah,
they then have a lot of respect and follow those rules because it's for
yeah,
everyone's benefit. Yeah.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, and also just and also this availability thing because if you go to a mall, it's just Western food now, right?
Yes.
With maybe like two kopitiam type local type things, a couple of Chinese things,
Yeah.
but largely it's fried chicken and pizza, and
Oh, you
and
know what's something nice I had
the
recently?
bakery is just so it's just I don't know,
Oh,
it's
Western. Yeah, it's all Western.
yeah,
You know what's something nice I ate recently? Laksa goreng. Woohoo! Laksa, I've never had it before. It was so good. Oh my god. You come
really.
to Tirating, I will take you for
Is it
laksa.
Does it taste like a laksa? It's got the
Yes.
laksa rempah.
It's
Oh,
it's fishy. It tastes you will get the bunga kantan, you get everything. Yeah, it's really nice.
isn't it
Goreng.
just like eating a pasta sauce as opposed
No,
to
it's
eating it like a
dry.
soup?
It
Oh, it's
no, it's
dry.
dry. It's dry,
Okay.
yeah. It's like char kway teow but laksa.
Oh,
Yeah.
where are you
Yeah.
eating this?
I don't know how they did it, but
Where are you eating this in Pahang?
yeah, in Chirating Kemaman.
Okay.
Yeah. So good, so good.
Okay, I think
Really with innovation. Yeah.
we're up to our hour, and I think we kind of scoped the territory a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we can. So I think people need resources here. So we have a couple of resources on the side. One is uh 10 wild caught fish, so that
Right.
you can just ask for it. Another one is just 10 plant-based proteins. Because sometimes it's just like a wall of pulses and lentils. Actually, there's something I wanted to say. One reason why maybe the Indian community navigates the uh, the vegan diet very well is the resource is very good. If you
Yeah.
go to the Indian shop, the
Yeah. And
it's
pulses
available.
are very good protein building blocks.
Yeah,
So
and it's all available. You can get it whole, you can get it half, you can get it floured, you can
yeah,
get it fermented.
yeah.
You
They
can
can turn that
navigate
into
that shop.
pasta. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that is another, we can really learn from this. Um, okay, I think we're kind of done for the week. Did you write your article? Did you use your
Almost
time to?
I'm almost there. I'm almost there. No, there's just so many things that I start editing. I go like, okay, I have to answer like a WhatsApp. You'll be like, yeah.
Okay, I
Soon,
will
soon.
catch up with you in
Okay.
the next few days.
Yep.
All right, Nisha. Take care.
Bye.